All right, so Mikhail and Rick are passed out in a nine-person hostel dorm. It's their first day in Amsterdam, really. And yeah, I really wanted to go for something sonic. I was trained in this spirit of anything lyrical is masturbatory, and any prose that sings too much is annoying. And so I took that as a challenge. I said, all right, I'm going to be as lyrical and sing songy as possible. And my only excuse was that the character was a singer. So he's always borrowing lyrics and inserting it into the prose. And whenever there's a chance to rhyme, he takes it. So this is chapter 2, part 2. And it starts: from a dream about getting caught smoking weed, I awoke and shot straight out of bed, hit my head against the ceiling, confused about where I was and sweaty as hell. I looked at my watch, 4 a.m., and thought about how the Germans from the night before must have pinned Rick and me as the shallow Americans who would agree to hang out, to be chummy, but then never show. Letting go, I slipped back into another dream and slept through a few REM cycles until the intervals between waking up and falling asleep got shorter and shorter. Around 6 o'clock, I got ready for the day. Rick was still asleep, and so was everybody else in the dorm. The only soul downstairs was the curly-haired gentleman at the front desk, playing chill early morning music on his internet radio station. Ambient stuff, electronic with a calm drum loop. He and I chatted a bit, but not for long. He was on hour 6 of his all-nighter and hungry for breakfast, which around 7 came out in wrapped cafeteria trays. The hostel offered moist white bread, generic tasting cereal, expired yogurt, and all kinds of juices, their only difference being their color. It was delicious. I threw 2 slices of the bread into the toaster and waited for my chocolate puffs in my cereal bowl to soak up as much milk fat as possible. Eventually, other backpackers poured in, a few fresh off a plane, others returning from a long night of clubbing, and then some descending from a long night of staying in. One man in his 30s, staying in our dorm I later found out, sauntered over to me and joined me with his own bowl of puffs. We conversed the AM hours away, watching hungover children stumble down for their morning cap. The man was from Israel, had dark skin and even darker hair, and next to his bowl of cereal, his own tupper of shakshuka, shakshuka, he had made in the kitchen. Tomato fluids dripping off the toasted edges of bread he would rip off with 3 fingers and raise to his nose, a parade of savory spices flavoring both our nasal cavities. He offered me a platter, and with it satisfied the ache inside. I thanked him, twice, so that by the 3rd bite we had become friends. He opened up about his life, explaining how he was traveling alone, had left a wife behind, as well as a son who dreamed of becoming a soccer star. I didn't think to ask him about his circumstance, though he did tell me that his Yiddish family members had a nickname for Amsterdam. But by the time he swiped the last bit of shakshuka with a pinch of bread, I blinked, and he disappeared, along with his tupper. It felt as if he'd never even sat next to me, save for my satisfied tummy, until later that night when I would see him again. Rick showed up. The 2 of us chatted about possibilities. There was the big brewery with the Red Star just down the road, a dozen museums, another dozen parks, and basically a whole culture to explore, absorb, chug, that we wouldn't completely explore, absorb. We would never sip the full foam of Malkum Aleph. So instead of going out right away, We stepped back into the smoke lounge and figured we'd just chill a bit until inspiration hits. That's when we met a few cute employees, including one named Liz from the UK. Liz was a few years older and acted like it, but what stuck out the most about her was how she had become an employee at the dog. After graduating from uni with a finance degree, Liz went abroad. On her way back to Mother England, she reached Amsterdam, but didn't have enough money to pay for food or shelter, much less cross the North Sea. But did have one last booking, here, at the dog. She spent the night, reached the end of a rope, and asked the hostel outright for a job. Within a minute, she was shaking the owner's hand. As Liz told me her story, I began to understand her raspy voice, her cool swag, her easygoing air, and sparse bravado that had landed her a job like that. And how wild it was to hear. I had gotten so used to the stuffy, buttoned-up career fairs and networking events that I almost forgot how Main Street operated. She told me all about her adventures, camping out in another employee's dorms, and working long, hazy hours. Already I had a strong affinity towards the underground world, yet the more I listened to Liz, the more I fantasized about stopping the whole damn trip then and there and taking a chance on a similar bohemian life. I let go of the dream, however, when I saw Rick pass the fattest joint I had ever seen to a pair of Colombianos. I couldn't just leave him. We had to push on through, finish what we started. To that tune, Rick and I spent the midday inside as a compromise and enjoyed the positive vibes, writing nonsense in notebooks. I don't get why guys come early, I heard Liz complain to a girlfriend. I put my pen down. Every guy you've been with has come early? I asked. Not every guy, she said, but it's disappointing when a guy is overly excited and comes before I've gotten off. If it's been a while... No, that's what they all say. They all say it's been too long or that they haven't masturbated in a while. And I'm lying on my back thinking, that's the only thing long about you. As they proceed to go all fast instead of taking their time. What about me? Why can't I get off? Accidents happen, I said. And if the girl's nice, she'll understand. Not if she's nice, Liz said. If the girl likes you, then she'll say it's okay. And if she's good, Rick said, she'll get you hard again. And if she's special, I said, she'll get you hard a third time. A man who comes 3 times falls in love. Now that's too much, Liz retorted. It's always up to us. Eventually, Rick and I told the pairs of red eyes that we had to head out and do something. We filled our pockets with loose change and shot out into the cold afternoon. We walked about, felt lost within the maze of arced canals, ever peripheral to the deeper truths, ever in orbit around the fine brick city, never penetrating, never falling in. Passed out for a minute at Vondel Park, settled on some overpriced sandwiches near Anne Frank's, and pounded a couple of cold beers at the entrance of the fabled red light district. These bar stops became a staple for us, the same way everything became a staple for us, with our guts and will to live. But by the hour the skies turned dark, the streets powered fluorescently, and pure madness ensued over crowded Leidsplan. There trams flew by you without warning, trannies flew by you with unmarked bottles of blue pills, travelers stared into a starry night, which reflected starry lamps, and strange, I thought, now we were the tourists. I had judged too much in the past. Had folks judged me? So innocent to offend others without even knowing it. Truth and sound versus feelings and empathy. Rick and I made it back to our hostel and almost gave up the night for another jet-lagged nap, but instead got lassoed into the hostel bar's hectic frenzy. 50 or 60 kids unloaded liters of fizzy beers down each other's throats. 3 well-prepped hookahs were brought out and sucked on to their last puff, chained between giggles and hedonists, which, together with the hashish smoke from ye old smoke lounge and a cloud of sizzling hot stir-fry from the kitchen, caused one massive spicy fog to hover over us, and the ceramics mosaic on the floor with Amsterdam's red and black triple X flag. It was a sight to see, to live. Somehow we were the only red, white, and blues at the bar that night, schooling some maple leaves in a game of beer pong. A game I would have liked to have played with Washington, had I had the chance. Rick, praise be unto his tenacity, wasn't the best player, though my primo could drink. The way he knocked back those leader pitchers made you think he had a pressure valve for a belly button. "I gotta use the restroom," he said, running out to our dorm instead, to grab something, and figuring while he was there, he'd pop open a window and drop his zipper before tumbling over his bed. When I went up to check on the boy, he was actually tucked in. Seeing him so dunzo like that, face first over his bare naked pillow, but under some clean sheets, calmed me down. A bolt of lightning struck right outside our bedroom, followed by the clash of thunder, and there appeared a man with his legs crossed, sitting over Rick. I approached the man, drunk myself, spinning, could barely make him out, but then I realized it was the Israeli from earlier. The man smiled, told me everything would be fine. He had just helped Rick into bed. I sighed and started undressing. That's when the man asked me if I had an extra pair of shoes. He had lost his out on Lightspline. "No," I lied. "I only have these hiking boots." He bowed his head and thanked me anyway. That's it. End of chapter.